All right, so climate marchers. I'll start with Jimmy, and then I'll let you kind of introduce yourselves. And thank you. Welcome to our community. We will never call you outsiders.
Hello.
Hello, Jimmy.
Hi.
Jimmy.
Awesome to be back. So I did produce a speech of some sort, but it's cold, so I'm going to try and keep it a little briefer than I thought. So, but first off, I didn't come here to get arrested and jailed, if that makes sense. So the whole intention was not to just get arrested. I came here after marching across the country with a few awesome folks who are here with me right now, one of whom is Faith Meckley. But ultimately, we were invited to support what's going on here at Seneca Lake, which is to say that we were invited by people who give a damn about what's happening here, and it's more about ensuring the future generations are not having to deal with just surviving, dealing with a situation where we can actually put ourselves in a position to thrive in spite of corporate entities and governments that have been bought out. I came here also because it turns out that fresh water is not something that we should take for granted. We shouldn't sell it. We shouldn't technically even own it. We shouldn't pollute it. We shouldn't waste it. So for the communities that we've met across this country as we've traveled, the battle is not just in the Finger Lakes region. It's something that people are dealing with throughout the country. It'll be the next big war, if there is one, and it will be related to water. It's already happening right now in the Southwest, where people are being deprived of water from corporate interest, from greed. I came here also because I've seen problems expressed through the many faces of the harmed from all across our country, specifically those that now we know directly that they've been actively misled, intentionally misled by corporations, and once those corporations are in, they put a stranglehold on the land, on the water, on the resources, on the people, on the well-meaning workers who depend on jobs. 1 foot on the door is 1 foot too far. So it's important that at this point I can only guarantee that Crestwood will never be arrested and jailed for trespassing, even though they're obviously the collective body that is causing all this right now. It's important that this is something that we need to note, that corporations are being allowed to trespass by our laws, but we are not. I'm going to jail because of that, apparently. I don't believe that, but that's how it is. I came here also because the world needs to know that this is not a local skirmish between a corporation and a group of concerned citizens. This is a crucial wave on a battlefield that is breaking throughout our country, and this is largely because of the water preservation. It's a global concern. It's a national emergency when it comes down to it, and all the contributing infrastructure projects that fuels climate change and extreme energy extraction needs to be terminated now. You may still ask me, because it's really easy to ask me, what business does a Nebraskan have here in the New York Lakes regions? And I guess we touched on some of Dr. King's work, and respectfully I'd like to quote that, again, he said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And why would we limit what we're doing here when corporations are not going to limit themselves? They know no boundaries. They don't respect any of these things either. So we need to be able to up our tactics to match, at least match. And beyond that, I'd just like to add that that's not really the question that we should be asking. The question should be, why are you not stepping up and standing by your community? Why do I feel motivated to do this on such a grander scale that you couldn't do just by walking outside, walking down the street, standing with We Are Seneca Lake? It's just a question that needs to be asked. Why don't you do the research and find out the truly criminal nature of the fossil fuel industry? It's a desperate time for them, and they're going to stop at nothing to get what they want. Okay. One other thing that's related to what we're dealing with is the rubber stamping of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, which we've had plenty of dealings with on the climate march, including in D.C., including at Cove Point, where we stand to be arrested and potentially jailed as well in the future. But it does not imply, just because they've been approved or permitted, that we have consented to this. Nobody in those regions has technically consented. The people have not. The people of the world have not, when it comes down to it. When we talk about international exports or storage in a region that affects hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, we need to be able to have our voices actually honored as law, not just in protest, but actually seeing that as the new law. We need to be able to reinvent how we're being experienced and how we're being known by these corporate and government entities.
Yay!
Last bit, this is a little bit about me, but this comes down to the outsiders comment, which I resonate with in a different way. So I was raised in Omaha, Nebraska, obviously, but I was adopted from South Korea as an infant, so I know very intimately what it's like to feel like a local, but also very intimately what it's like to feel like an outsider. The feeling of being uncomfortable and awkward at the same time as being at home. So knowing that, I do know that what we are pushing for and what is going on is a form of radical inclusion, inviting the whole world essentially to engage in a struggle that does involve every single one of us. So striving for that belongingness is so key to what we need to do. It's what we're aspiring to, but it's also something that we are going to benefit from in the long run. It's not just to end at that point.
Yay!
So not only do I proudly serve this jail sentence for all of the above reasons, but also be fasting in the process, and thanks to Faith for a lot of inspiration there. This is to raise awareness, but also to appreciate the privilege of bountiful food in places that have freshwater resources, because we've seen so many that have none of those resources and subsequently none of that food either. So I came here to share the realities of why we must do this together and support one another. We cannot count on government salvation or police advocacy. We must rally local communities to resist and protect, but with higher ideals of outreaching to and then also collaborating with other communities that are fighting these similar battles in whatever part of the country or the world they may be in. I humbly represent the potential support that exists if we can continue to cultivate and encourage this process successfully. This is a time for a confluence of actions and a flood of activated communities collectively demonstrating their resilient sovereignty.
Yeah!
So we are Seneca Lake. We are not alone. We are one. Let's start acting like it.
I would just like to real quick, Jimmy made a great point at the end there that we need to be in solidarity with other folks who are going through the same struggles that we are right now. And for any of you who don't know this yet, those who are struggling to stop the construction of the Cove Point terminal in Maryland are now flying under the banner, "We are Cove Point," and they take a lot of inspiration from us. So you are having an effect. So let's live up to it, because people are watching us, right?